Okay, Don, so thanks for taking time out to talk today. And I guess I want to get started just by noting that I see it's the 45th anniversary of the band. So are you feeling surprised to still be out there, or what keeps you going to
Well,
stay on the road like this?
we're not doing any great surprises other than it is a surprise. It's 45 years.
Yeah.
We're just, we continue to do like 35, 40 shows a year. We're shooting to do 45 this year, just to, as a kind of a deal
right.
to make it all kind of make sense. But it's not a big deal if we don't make it to the 45.
Right.
We like to keep it. We're all family people. We like to keep it, simple. We don't want to get on a bus, and go out and do nighty shows, and say goodbye and see our family 6 months later. So we go out, we do a couple of shows, we go home, and it works out really well that way.
So did you think this would ever turn into like a long-term, career? As sort of like, you could, 45 years is a long time to be in the
Yeah,
band.
I really, when I started with Grand Funk, I had been playing for a few years with other bands. I started a band in my basement when I was 14, and that band turned into the Pack, and then later Terry Knight and the Pack, and then that band eventually became Grand Funk Railroad. And I was 19 years old when we formed, and at that point, you're just looking to, what am I going to do, for the next couple of weeks? Not what am I going to be doing in 45 years? And it just kind of turned into, we disbanded in, it was 1976. We got back together briefly in 1980 and 81, without Mel, and then that just didn't go anyplace. And so we weren't together again until 1996, I think it was. We got back together and did a reunion, and everybody had raised their families, and they had a little more time on their hands, and we just kind of looked at it a little from a different light, and classic rock radio came around, and CDs were new, and all of this stuff, and all of a sudden the fans were there, and it was like, well, let's go. And we've been going ever since. It's did I ever think this, when I was 19 years old? Never. I never dreamed that I'd be doing this at the age of 65. I'm going to be 66 this year. Never thought that, and I feel blessed that I can do it, and I can show I was able to show my kids, what I do, and now my grandkids, I can show them what I do, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And the differences between, doing this at 19 versus the age you are now, I guess you try and go to bed a little earlier, or what's it like now? It's certainly not wild and crazy like it used to be, and which is a good thing. We would have never made it to this age if we would have been doing that, for 45 years. I try to keep myself in shape. I walk every day. I do about 4.5 miles. I go to the gym every night. I'm always going, and I think that's very important. I always have to focus on being able to play, a full show, an hour and a half, and I've been doing some Bob Seger stuff, over the past 7 or 8 years, and when I'm doing both bands in the same year, that gets pretty tedious as far as being a drummer goes. I'm kind of the workhorse of the band. So, but I've been able to keep it going, and so far no problems. And in terms of the show you have planned these days, you I guess you're obviously doing the hits, and then what other stuff do you do you put in there? Well, we do some new stuff. We actually opened the show with a song called Bottle Rocket, which is a quote unquote new song. We've been doing it for several years. Another one called Sky High is a new song. Another one called Lightning and Thunder, which is all percussion, everybody in the band playing drums. And we do focus on trying to give everybody, what they want: rock and roll, soul, foot stomping music, shining on, locomotion, some kind of wonderful, I'm your captain, closer to home, inside looking out. We're an American band. All of the stuff they want to hear from Grand Funk, as well as a few new things that that we kind of work in. But it's I've been to enough shows that when the artist starts playing all the new stuff, that's a cue for everybody to go out and get a beer. So we try to keep it down to a minimum. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of the lineup, you and Mel are kind of the core, right? These sort of the originals, and then you have some newer people you brought in. So you have kind of the keeper of the flame as far as the sound goes, or.
Well, it's true to the spirit of Grand Funk. I think it's matured over the years, and I think we, as well as has the sound systems and all of the equipment and everything that we play and everything. So it kind of goes that way. But it certainly is it's a high energy rock and roll show, which we've always done, and we always get out there and it's just take no prisoners, and we go after the audience and get them on their feet and having a good time, and that's what Grand Funk has always been about. I think the music is very uplifting, and so that's the approach we give to the show, and
right.
And that's really kind of the same thing. It's a 5-piece band versus what it was in the first 3 years was a trio, and then we added a keyboard player and then over the years different people have come and gone, and when we put this incarnation together in 2000, we wanted to make sure that we could cover all of the bases as far as what we did on recordings, as far as overdubs and background vocals and all that stuff. When you're 3 pieces, you're still doing a lot of overdubbing. So
right, yeah.
To make it sound full and fat and all that stuff, we figured that the best way is to have a 5-piece, and that's it works really well.
Right. And when you guys came out, you were the sort of coming from this, I guess, Flint, Michigan, and was that sort of the Motown era? So I guess the Detroit music scene was pretty happening. Can you what was that like to sort of come of age in that time, in that place? It must have been kind of a cool spot.
It was a great time. I think it was a wonderful time to come up in music because, you were able to to build up some sort of a local following, and to support the band. You could go in and record something. You could take it over to the local radio station. I remember going over to Bob Dell at WTAC in Grand Blanc and, walking in with something newly recorded by the Pack, and he'd put it on the air, and all of a sudden, you'd have more people come to the Teen Hop or whatever, Mount Holly was a place we used to play. And it all kind of made sense, you would build up a following, and, pretty soon you were breaking out and, as far as a statewide following, and pretty soon you had maybe 2 or 3 states, a tri-state thing going on. And then, the next thing you know, you've got a major label looking at you, and they want to take you, to the next level. And it all made sense. Now it's, man, I just don't know how, and other than going on American Idol or The Voice or something, I don't know how anybody comes up anymore. It's all the internet, and it's just, it's hit or miss whether anybody's going to ever find you on the internet. So,
right.
Yeah. So I'm glad we came up when we did. I'm glad I was able to experience coming up in the music business when I did. As far as the Detroit scene goes, there were a lot of bands coming up around the same time. Iggy Pop and the Stooges and Nugent and MC5 and all of these bands. They were like really Detroit bands, and we were, for some reason, we were kind of the outsiders. We were that band from up north in Flint, and everybody went, oh
right.
yeah, that's that band from Flint. And so it was kind of like nobody around the Detroit scene would really take us seriously until all of a sudden we go to the Atlanta Pop Festival, and all of a sudden we're playing all over the South. The Texas International Pop Festival, we're playing all the hippie places that were existed back then. We ended up playing the Fillmore East and all, and back in Michigan is like, who is this band?
Right.
Who are these guys? And so when we were able to come back into Michigan after we had made it out elsewhere, it was like, oh yeah, this is a Michigan band, right?
Right. So suddenly you were part of Michigan, yeah.
Then we were part of Michigan. Then they were ready to claim us. Before that it was just, oh, that's that band from Flint.
Right. And in terms of your sound, who were your, inspirations? It's sort of, this rock with a bit of sort of, soul in there, or a little bit of,
soul R&B for sure. That's what we grew up listening to. Along with the Beatle invasion and along with the English invasion and the Rolling Stones and all that stuff. Before that, we were listening to Motown and all of the stuff from Memphis, and Otis Redding was a big influence on us, and it was just, that's what we loved, was all the R&B stuff. And we were always in the Pack. We were kind of converting those songs into more white R&B, and then when Hendrix and Cream and Blue Cheer and those bands started making it in 1966 or 7 or somewhere along in there. That whole power trio thing started happening. They were doing the blues, and they were just cranking it up, and it was like the blues on steroids, So we did the same thing with our R&B thing, which I think makes it very unique. It was like R&B all cranked up, and turn it up loud and play it very simple, simplistic, but those grooves were certainly pulled right out of the R&B world, and I think I still, you asked me earlier what does this band have now compared to that band. We're all major R&B guys, and Max Carl, who's from 38 Special, and Jack Mack and the Heart Attack was his band way back when. He's one of the last blue-eyed soul guys on the planet, and he knows it, he gets it. So that's really what kind of brings it all together and keeps it going even today. I think that's what's there in the show is this R&B rock thing.
And you had mentioned, we were talking about your set list, We're an American Band, which, is probably one of your most famous songs, if not the most famous, and it's gotten so much play, TV commercials and movies and TV shows. So I'm curious, what is it like when you play that outside the U.S.? Do people react to that the same way, or what's like?
Well, I can only remember, going. There were a couple of times we went to Japan way back in the American Band days. And it was always received very well in Japan and certain parts of Europe, where there wasn't this anti-American, kind of a thing going on. We play it in Canada. We haven't been overseas really in a long time. We play it in Canada. We played it at the London, the Ontario Blues Fest, Ottawa, this past year.
Right.
Huge response. I mean, so it really. It kind of goes. I think it's kind of going beyond, the flag waving, we're an American Band kind of a thing. It's just a classic rock, hit, and I certainly, there's certain places in the world I probably wouldn't want to go and play it, but I don't really want to go and play there anyway. So.
Right, yeah.
I like
and
it
why
here.
do you think,
I got to tell you, I've been everywhere, and this is the place for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what makes it, it's always hard to quantify, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Why do you think a song like that just, it is such a song that you hear all the time and played in all these different settings? What's something about why do you think it's been this iconic song?
I don't know. I mean, when I first wrote the song and I took it into the band, and we worked it up, and it was kind of like this. I wasn't ever really sure about it, because it comes out of you, so you really don't know what people are reacting to. And I remember being at Criteria in Miami, and right after we recorded the song, and so some people were from Capitol were in, and they were just jumping up and down, and it's like, there's the first hit, and I'm going, I just went, God, you guys really like that, huh? And I was kind of surprised. Until I really, until I heard it the first time on the radio. I was driving over to Mel's house, and it came on the radio, and I pulled off the road because I just couldn't believe how great it sounded on the radio, in my car, and it still does. It has something about it, the song, the combination of the song and the recording and the whole thing. It just has something about it that it just sounds like a hit, one of those things.
Right.
Again, I told you it's very uplifting. It just has that thing to it, right from the cowbell all the way to the ooh-oohs at the end. It's like it gets you and takes you there, and that it's just one of those things. I put it together. I really didn't have a tag. I didn't have the American Band tag for it until I'd pretty much written the song. I had all of the other lines, we're coming to your town, we'll help you party it down, all that stuff, and Up All Night with Freddie King and all of the stuff. But I just didn't have a tag for it, and then it just dawned on me one day, and we're an American Band, and it just sounded great, and that just took it there.
Right. Now, you also, you're talking about doing some work with Bob Seger. It's another kind of very sort of American kind of band. So Is that just like a fun side gig for you? Do you, is it good to have two different jobs in rock, I guess, or?
Well, it was very flattering to me that those guys, I played, when Grand Funk was on a hiatus in the 80s, I played for Bob Seger on 2 tours, 83
right.
and again in 87. And I didn't do the 96 tour, because I was, busy doing other stuff and just getting ready to go back and do the Grand Funk thing. And, when they wanted to go back on the road in 2006, they kind of, came to me and pursued me, and I was very flattered. Of course, I was doing the Grand Funk, and we had to work it out so that, I could work with both bands. So we worked on a schedule, and worked it all out. And I love playing the Seger stuff. I mean, it's just, you get on stage, and it's just hit after hit after hit all night long, and that's terrific. And it's a great bunch of guys. I've known them all for, 40-some years, and Bob goes back to the days that I was telling you about, WTAC and Mount Holly, and I remember playing with Bob Seger in the Last Herd out there at Mount Holly all those years ago, and so it's really just it's a fun thing, it's a money thing, it's a bunch of stuff, but I'm flattered to be able to do it, and I feel it's a real kind of luxury for me and a dream to be able to do both bands. It's terrific. Yeah.
And do you ever get not get confused, but I mean the styles are different, so you have to sort of remind yourself, okay, this is Seger night. I'm doing a certain way of playing, and
Well, when I'm out on the road doing a Seger tour, and then I have to, on a day off, I have to fly to Las Vegas and play a Grand Funk show, and then the next day go, fly back to Kansas and play a Bob Seger show. That gets a little tiring and not confusing, but you kind of the music, and you get up there, and once you start playing it, you know all the songs. So it is two different styles. It's two different approaches, and in one band I'm kind of a primary performer like Grand Funk, and in the other band I'm just the drummer, which is good. I mean, it's always been. I've always looked at my gig with Bob Seger as kind of a learning experience, because he's had must be 20 different drummers play on his stuff, and so when you're playing his stuff, you're learning all of these chops and licks that these other guys were doing, and of course you try to make it your own at the same time. So it's really kind of a learning thing, and it's been really good for me. I've had to step outside myself, my comfort zone, quite a few times, and it's good for me.